Hello. Today I would like to talk about not so much a review, but more of my experience switching from the Fitbit Versa to the Apple Watch. And type in my passcode real quick. Primarily, some of the things that surprised me about switching, good and bad. Keep in mind that I have had a Fitbit device for more than 5 years. I started out with, Anne's having a fit because it's not on my wrist. I've had, I don't remember the first one I got. I think it was the Fitbit 1, which is a little, when you clip on your pants. And I liked it because it told elevations, you know, how many flights of stairs you went up and down, and had some features like that that some of the wrist ones didn't. I don't believe they had heart rate tracking at that time, so it was considered their, I believe, top of the line at the time. And I was happy with it, and then they came out with, I think it was spring of 2015, I got my first one. It was the Surge HR, I believe. I've actually got it somewhere, but I won't dig it out. Black and white display, told heart rate, had quite a bit of information on it, quite a bit of details on the screen, but again, it was a single color screen, and it was it was kind of where the background was black and the letters were white, and I don't even remember if it had a light to it. It might have had an optional where you could push a button and turn on a light for a second, but it worked fine until the band on it broke, which weren't easily replaceable. I tried, the screws were a nightmare. So then I moved to the Fitbit Blaze, which I was pretty happy with. And the only real complaints I had were that it wasn't a little more customizable. I kind of wished you could change it a little more. It got better as time went on. And then I bought the Versa. Blaze is still working fine. Gave it to my son, and he plays around with it and wears it sometimes. The Versa, which is this one, the first one I bought, I've had a little over a year. Been very, by far the best one I've had. I've had no complaints. It has customizable home screens. You can change the layout. I've gone through a bunch till I found one I really liked, and I was completely happy with it. And I didn't even, the only thing, for what it did, I was completely happy with it. What I kind of wished was that it had a few smartwatch features, but you know, it wasn't enough that I really missed. It was more of just kind of wondering, you know, a lot of people I knew had Apple Watches and were getting. My aunt just bought one, my uncle bought one, my daughter got one, we bought it for her, and several other family members, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-law, bought Apple Watches. And not that that would make me switch, but I think I figured that after 4 generations, this is the 4th generation 44 millimeter, that I figured the bugs were ironed out. I've had iPhones for ages, and my biggest concern was that I would lose my ability to do Fitbit challenges, which I do all the time. Lots and lots of Fitbit challenges with friends and family. And at that point, I decided before I would get an Apple Watch that I would go on Sorry for the interruption. My son needed me. The Fitbit challenges were the thing I was most concerned about. So before I got it, I went on and found Sync Solver in the App Store, and looked around and found that Sync Solver will let you transfer your, I think I've got this right. I know it does, but the details I may be off just a little bit, but it transfers the steps from your Apple Watch or your health app. That's what I'm not sure about, which one it goes to get the data, but half a dozen of one, 6 of the other. It takes your steps and puts them into the Fitbit app. Well, you would think, fantastic. That means I'm going to be able to use my steps from my Apple Watch in the Fitbit challenges. Wrong. It will import them into the Fitbit app as steps and count them as steps, but for some reason it doesn't count them in challenges. Why Fitbit does this, I have no idea. You would think maybe, oh, they don't want you to buy an Apple Watch, they want you to buy a Fitbit. Well, but that would be easily solved by simply saying you have to have a Fitbit tracker to use their software, which I have a Fitbit tracker and they still won't let me do it. And there's an easy workaround. All you have to do is go into your Fitbit app and use the phone as your tracker for steps. And that works. So I carry my phone and have it update the steps for my Fitbit challenges and use my Apple Watch for everything else. So I didn't really lose my Fitbit challenges, and I've got an Apple Watch. But anyway, let me cut to the chase. After 3 weeks of having these, 3 weeks after I switched to the Apple Watch, what are my thoughts on it and how has it been? I'm actually kind of surprised at how useful the Apple Watch is. And when I first got it, there was a short period of time there while I was still learning about it that I kind of had reservations and thought, was this wise? Maybe this was a bad decision. And now, 3 weeks in, you can ask me and I'll tell you, I don't regret it at all. I'm very happy and I'd do it again. I didn't realize how frequently I would be using my Apple Watch. And I use it multiple times a day, and I think the best feature of it is the Siri. I find that I'm constantly doing calculations. At work, I have to do calculations numerous times a day, and it used to be I would pull out my phone, and even then I would usually talk to Siri. I'd say, hey Siri, what's the 5,000 divided by 4 or something, and it would spit it out. Well, now, instead of having to fish in my pocket, get my phone out to do that, I just hold it up to my wrist. It immediately gives me the answer on the phone, and I'm even using it for phone calls. This is not an LTE version, but I regularly will have usually personal phone calls when I'm out somewhere or whatnot, not business related. And the kids or the wife will call me and have a question or tell me to pick up something or do something. And instead of having to fish around for my phone again, I handle the call on my watch. And that has another benefit where I don't have a tendency to keep my phone sitting on the seat when I'm driving, which several times I've knocked it out forgetting it was there and knocked it out on the pavement, and thankfully I haven't broke the screen on it, but it lets me just keep my phone in the pocket more, and that's really nice. The other thing that kind of surprised me about it was the health app and the health tracking, fitness tracking on it. I do wish that they would look at Fitbit and have some of the features, the layout mainly of the Fitbit. But if you can get around the interface, which is a little different and in my opinion a little more rudimentary, what it does I feel is more advanced and is going to lead to you being healthier than the Fitbit. Simply, the Fitbit is so focused on steps, and this has always bothered me in challenges, and I know you can probably change the challenge type in Fitbit, but I always used to avoid doing exercise that wouldn't get me steps. You know, if I'd avoid going out and biking, or I'd avoid going out and lifting weights or doing other things because I didn't feel like the Fitbit rewarded me for that. It was all focused on steps. And the challenges on the Apple Watch are a little more advanced in that they're more concerned about are you keeping active during the day? Are you expending calories? And even in challenges with other people, it's not just how many steps did you do compared to someone else. It's, well, how often were you up moving around? How many calories did you exert? And how much time did you do actual exercise? And then all of those count towards points that it allots you in your competition with other people. And overall, it seems like it's much better and well-rounded. And I shouldn't say there's anything more rudimentary as much as it's new to me, and it will take some adjusting to, but what it's doing is better. I just don't know if it displays it quite as well as a Fitbit interface. That being said, they can change software pretty easily. I mean, this is just giving the information to you. It's not what it's collecting. I have no doubts that it's a better fitness tracker. I also noticed that it keeps my heart rate more accurately than any of my Fitbits have. And it doesn't do it as frequently unless you're in an exercise mode. But when I kick on an exercise mode where it monitors more frequently, I noticed that it is just dead on with my chest strap. I was riding my Peloton the other day, and I was watching the chest strap readings compared to the Apple Watch, and they were just within, every time I saw it, from 160 beats down to, when I was only doing maybe 90 or 100 beats per minute, the Apple Watch was within 2-3 beats per minute of the chest strap. The Versa was kind of all over the place. I mean, it would give you a rough idea, but it wasn't uncommon to be varying 15 beats per minute, or maybe 20 in some cases. So whatever Apple's done, they seem to have much more accurate readings. And finally, the other concern I had was losing sleep tracking and battery life, which kind of go together. The Apple Watch, I knew that I would take a big hit with battery life, but the screen is just gorgeous, and it's easier for me to read than the Versa. I don't know if it's the contrast or the resolution, but I'm in my 40s, and I'm a little bit farsighted, so looking at things up close sometimes takes a minute for me to focus on them, but I have much less trouble with the Apple Watch than I did with the Versa and the other watches. But for sleep tracking, I used an app that's on here. Let me see if I can find it. Tell you the name of it. I went through 2 of them. I downloaded one. It was called Auto Sleep, and I tried it for 3 nights. Couldn't get it to work at all. It would give me errors. It wouldn't record. It would say, it seemed like it was helpful. It would say, you need to go do this. I'd follow all the directions on how to fix the problems. Would never work. So I finally gave up and tried one called Sleep Watch. Works perfectly. It gives me a lot of details. I like it too because it comes up during the day and checks in and says, how are you feeling today? Are you tired? Are you fatigued? Did you feel like you got a good night's sleep last night? And then it learns from that. So very happy with that. And as far as battery life, what I've been doing, it will last me 2 days. What I would, what I'm doing is since I wear it overnight, I will wear it all day, wear it in the evening, and then before I get a shower, I will plug it in and I'm using an iPad charger, which I don't know if that's I know it charges the iPhones a lot faster, but I'm not sure about the Apple Watch. It seems to. And I will let it charge while I'm getting a shower, and then maybe have a cup of coffee or whatnot. Basically, I give it about 45 minutes to charge, and it will be charged up to 100%. I'll wear it that evening, all night, all day the next day, and depending on how much I exercise, which exercising does drain it a little faster than just wearing it, but even if I go out and exercise for an hour or two, when I get done, it's generally in the 50 to 60% range, and then I will again charge it, and that evening while I'm showering, no problems. So, all that being said, if you're someone that has a Fitbit and you're considering switching, that's my experience, and I would say go for it. Give it a thumbs up.